Good afternoon, everybody. Apart from the new therapeutic strategies for restoration of sight in blind, we've already heard about the gene therapy and stem delivery, stem cell therapy. I'll give a talk today about the so-called bioelectronic approach, and I will focus on the photovoltaic subretinal prosthesis. Just a brief introduction. In the normal healthy retina, visible light falls into the eye, and through a phototransductive process in the photoreceptors, the signal is elicited, and through the bipolar cell and the RGCs, it is transmitted to the brain. And simplified, in the retinal degeneration, we observe a loss of the photoreceptors with the preservation of the inner retinal layers. So the principle of the subretinal stimulation is to substitute the photoreceptors by placing a multi-electrode array in the subretinal space in order to be able to stimulate the bipolar cells. The photovoltaic retinal prosthesis has been developed in Stanford since 2005. The system consists mainly of two parts. We have glasses with a mounted video camera which records the visual scene that we observe, and then the images are getting processed in the image processor, and then through an LCD screen, pulsed, non-visible from our retina and non-harmful near-infrared light is projected onto the retina and specifically into the chip. So this is the chip. This is the first edition of the chip that we have been implanting in rats. We have different number of pixels. In rats, most of the studies had a pixel width of 70 microns. I think the most important thing is that we have an active electrode in the middle and then a peripheral electrode, return electron in the periphery. This means that light falls into the pixel, into every pixel, and it works like a solar panel. This means that through the light, electric current is elicited, and then you just see we have an electric field that is induced above the transplant, above the implant. I will just let this video play. This is 1 pixel. The surgery, because the chip is wireless, it's easier than the other implants that already are in the market. We use a tool where we can load 1 or more chips.
Because the photovoltaic
then we do a sclerotomy followed by a vitrectomy. We need to induce retinal detachment as in the stem cell or in the gene therapy, and then we need to enlarge our retinotomy in order to be able to inject the tool, and then we can inject after that 1 chip or more regarding on the visual field that we want to provide to our patient. The chips work always. The only thing that you need to switch on, if you're the patient, is the glasses that you wear. Yeah, here's the camera again, and you have LCDs just in a very small area. In the glasses, pulsed infrared light will be projected onto the eye, onto the chip, and then every pixel just elicits the electric field through the electric current, and you can see how the current
converted by each photovoltaic pixel into pulses of electric current.
Just transmit. The signal will be elicited, and then you just the signal will be transmitted through the RGCs to the retina. There was a clinical study that was developed, that was actually performed last year in order to check the feasibility of the compensation of the blindness in patients with dry AMD with geographic atrophy, patients older than 60 years with a geographic atrophy size larger than 3 optic disc diameters, and a BCVA worse than 20 to 400 were enrolled. This is the chip that was implanted in the subretinal space with a pixel resolution of 100 microns, and the chip was 2 by 2 millimeter wide. These are the anatomical results. There were some complications, especially in the first patient where the chip was implanted in the choroid and not in the subretinal space. Patient number 2 and number 3 was okay. Patient number 4 didn't keep his nose down after the surgery with the vitrectomy with GADs. This is the reason that the dislocation of the chip occurred, and in patient number 4 we had a small subretinal bleeding. prosthetic vision is evaluated with fully opaque glasses because our patients have AMD, so they have residual peripheral visual acuity. This is a video how it looks like. Oh, it doesn't play. Excuse me for that. No. Okay, no. It has some noise too, but they recognize, and then when we switch off the system, of course, due to the fully opaque glasses, they're not able to see anything. You can hear the noise, but it's translated. Right, and then the same procedure is repeated just 3 times for each patient in order to be sure that they can see anything, which is the case in each patient. With regard to the results, mean visual acuity was 20 to 500, which is almost 20 to 25% below the theoretical limit of the pixel size of the resolution that was delivered, which should be 20 to 400. All the patients were able to see light perception. They were tested also by line orientation, letter recognition, and visual acuity was performed with Landau-C rings. Of course, the project is being developed in Stanford. There are a lot of fields where the development is continuous. There will be a multi-center clinical trial with implants with 75 microns pixel size. As far as I know, Moorfields Eye Hospital will be also a center, and my clinic in Munich. But I think for us doctors, the most important thing is the small pixels and the 3D electrodes. And the reason for that is, the question is, why does the pixel matter? The pixel size matters because the smaller the pixel size, the higher the visual acuity that the implant can provide. But if this is the case, why didn't we produce from the beginning pixels with a size of 5 microns? Because it's not so easy. By reducing the pixel size, we also reduce the induced electric field. This means we don't have enough penetration depth in order to stimulate all the bipolar cells. So in order to overcome this limitation, there were 3D honeycomb arrays developed. In this configuration, you can see that we can use the same light intensity, and we have a vertically oriented electric field, which allows us to stimulate a higher number of bipolar cells. And of course, we use the same light intensity in order to be in the safe area. Retinal migration has already been tested last year, and we'll just test in the new year the functionality in animals. In the meanwhile, arrays with smaller pixel size have been built, and we've tested also the retinal migration of bipolar cells up to 10 microns. We went down up to 10 microns because with the flat implants, the lower pixel resolution, the pixel size we can provide is 40 microns. After that, the electric field is very small, so you cannot stimulate enough bipolar cells. With the honeycomb configuration, we're down up to 10 microns, and the retinal migration was in summer very well. So the goal actually of this project is to provide as high visual acuity as we can, and if we achieve our goal to come down to single cell resolution, this means that one bipolar cell will fill in a honeycomb, then we will be able to provide a visual acuity of 20/40 and just to restore also 8 different levels of gray for contrast sensitivity. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Stathis. Now we move to the vitreoretinal session. I remind you that